Hey everyone, Andrew J. Polk here. We have kicked off our 2020 mayoral election series, in which we will be interviewing all of the mayoral candidates that will be on the ballot here in El Paso. Did it for last election, we did that live, but since this is the Rona season and we're dealing with all that stuff still, we're doing these all taped, but we do have usually more in the interview than we're able to fit on air, as has happened certainly with our first two candidates, Veronica Carvajal and Carlos Gallinar, so we weren't able to air the full interview. We took out whole questions and answers, didn't edit any answers, but we do want to present all the answers to you here, so please enjoy this interview. Joining me now, we have Carlos Gallinar, candidate for El Paso mayor. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Andrew, thank you so much for having me. Good morning.
So we're very happy to start off our mayoral series talking with you. So for people who aren't familiar with you or your campaign, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, Andrew, so proud El Pasoan, born and raised in El Paso. I grew up in the Lower Valley. I am the proud son of immigrants, my mom from Chihuahua, my dad from Zacatecas. When I was growing up in the Lower Valley, I am the youngest of six boys and the first to graduate college. I went to Bel-Air High School, class of 1993. And then, my mom, perhaps sensing that I'm her last of her children to maybe attend higher education, I started at community college, then went on to UTEP, and I taught anyone that will listen, and these days it's quite a lot of people, UTEP changed my life. The trajectory of my life took a different turn when I entered UTEP, and when I finished UTEP, met a bunch of really great El Pasoans. And then went on to work on really great, interesting projects here in El Paso, starting with the Plaza Theater renovation through the El Paso Community Foundation. Went on to graduate school at Rutgers in New Jersey, came back in 2005 and started doing affordable housing construction at La Fe Clinic, along with community redevelopment there in South El Paso. And then went on to work at the city of El Paso, along with thousands of El Pasoans, did Plan El Paso, the award-winning comprehensive plan, and was a planning director for several years. And then the last several years helped EPISD get their construction projects off the ground. And now I manage my own consulting firm doing urban planning, community development work throughout the country.
So you've done a lot of very important work around the community. What made you want to specifically now run for mayor?
Yeah, Andrew, listen, in 2012, the former mayor, who is also obviously running for mayor again, inherited $500 million of taxpayer money through the quality of life bond. And he inherited the Plan El Paso that I just talked about, a award-winning comprehensive plan built with thousands of El Pasoans' input. Had he implemented just 10% of what's in Plan El Paso, and had he obviously finished the quality of life bond, construct the main projects, we'd be having a different conversation about the city that we love. Instead, we know that we have many more El Pasoans leaving our city, more than any other city in the United States. That is a fact. Our wages are stagnant, and we have 54% of El Pasoans on the verge of poverty. This is according to the United Way Alice report. So we know that we have a lot of catching up to do. We know that we have a lot to do at City Hall. Public trust is in shatters. Our taxes and our debt is out of control. And so, Andrew, I have two young children. People who have been following my campaign will know that I always talk about them. I love them dearly, like most parents love their kids. But I want my kids, Andrew, to stay in El Paso. I don't want them going off to San Antonio, Houston, Dallas, Phoenix, Tucson, San Diego. I want them to make money in El Paso. I want them to be successful in El Paso. I want them to take risk and open businesses in El Paso. I want them to buy a house and raise a family in El Paso. So we have a lot of work that we need to do at City Hall. We need to get through COVID, obviously, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. But Andrew, City Hall and the city government and El Paso, while we love it dearly, are not doing what they need to do. And so we need to turn things around here pretty quickly. I really generally believe that the next 4 years will be critical for the future of our city. And so that is why I am stepping up. I'm not sitting on the sidelines. We need to all do what we need to do to get our Paso back to where it needs to be.
Now, you mentioned a couple of times there that Plan El Paso. I want to make sure we distinguish between that because we've talked a couple times on this program previously about the Glassdoor study that happened in about 2006. That is not what we are discussing here. Can you tell us a little bit about what Plan El Paso was?
Yeah, great correction and great distinction. Not at all nearly remotely the same thing. Plan El, every city, first of all, I'm an urban planner by profession. I study cities for a living. Obviously, I've studied El Paso through my profession and then as part of my hobby, right? I love the city. So we study it. We know how it works. We know what makes it tick. Every large metropolitan area in the United States has a comprehensive plan. And I'll give you a little bit of a tidbit, if I may. In 1925, El Paso had the Kessler Plan. Many of us in the planning profession refer to it. It was the second comprehensive plan in the country.
Wow.
And so we have a great history of urban planning. We have a great history of being innovative. Every city in the United States has a comprehensive plan. It deals with how the city shall grow for the next 25 years or so, right? Ours looked at sustainability. Ours looked at reinvesting in existing neighborhoods. Ours looked at making sure we're doing hike and bike lanes and hike and bike trails for our region, making sure that we have a robust, vibrant downtown, making sure that we have a economy that is not just fast food franchises and call centers. It is a beautiful plan, again, built through many long hours and months and years of community input. It was voted unanimously by the City Plan Commission and the City Council. And then you enter the former mayor, who is again seeking re-election, who just let it sit on the shelf. And so we need to bring that plan back. There's a lot of really great ideas. We could do a lot for our city if we implement the ideas that are in Plan El Paso.
If you're just joining us, my guest right now is Carlos Gallinar, candidate for mayor of El Paso. Want to find out more about him and where to find out more about his policies as well, you can visit carlosformayor.com and search Gallinar for El Paso or Carlos for El Paso on your favorite social media. So, kind of dovetailing with that, one of the major things that you have been focused on in this COVID-19 response is the lack of a city health director and the public health department.
That's right.
And we have now had a new one named right before we're recording this interview here, but it has been a kind of a constant thing on your campaign social media and other platforms that it has been now like 144 days it took to get to this point.
That's right. Andrew, listen, a public health director is a very important position, right? It's like having I've brought this up in many forums, and I've obviously made it an issue because I think it's an important one. And every time that I bring it up in forums, Mayor Margot sort of shrugs it off, says that we have a public health authority, which is Dr. Ocaranza, and he is correct. But not having a public health director is like having a quarterback, which is Ocaranza, and not having a coach. And so we need to make sure that we have as many resources as possible in the public health department, especially now during COVID. We need to throw every available resource, everything in the kitchen sink at this pandemic. It's getting worse. We know yesterday we just had the highest number of cases at over 500. So it's not getting better. And so this administration could have done better. And so you're exactly right. One of the issues that I brought up over the past 144 days, is that we needed to hire a public health director. I'm glad that this administration finally listened. I'm glad that we have Ms. Mora there. I think she's going to do a great job. I hope she's going to do a great job. If elected mayor, I will support her and Dr. Ocaranza and the public health department. One final thing, if I may. Here's where there's also an important issue about having a public health department. When you look at COVID and many of the deaths associated with COVID, many of the El Pasoans that have passed on because of COVID have underlying conditions. We know that our population is susceptible to diabetes. We know that our population is susceptible to high blood pressure and heart disease, right? All of these things that can be addressed if we had a public health director that's going to look at the way that people are living in the city of El Paso, right? So let's have a public health director. Let's have a robust public health department that post-COVID is going to help address these underlying health conditions.
Very important there. And again, if people want to find out more information, they can go to your website, carlosformayor.com, and find out about this. So kind of dovetailing with the COVID-19 response that the city needs to work on, you have a serious wage focus as well, trying to increase wages for El Pasoans, as you mentioned earlier, about half of the population looking at slipping into that poverty zone. So what is your plan to address wages and earnings for families?
Yeah, Andrew, so let's start with increasing the living wage, right? We need to fight for a minimum wage of at least $15 an hour. I get it. Listen, it's not going to be easy. It's going to have to start at the federal government. But as mayor, Congressman Escobar will have an advocate in City Hall to make sure that we have a mayor that's going to be advocating for a living wage. And by the way, Congresswoman Escobar is a great supporter of ours. She's endorsed our campaign. So she needs a champion at City Hall to work with her on not just the living wage issue, but many federal issues in Washington, D.C. That's number one. Number two, let's work with our state delegation. Currently, right now, the Texas does not allow municipalities to set a living wage. So let's try to change that. Might be a little bit difficult. We have a conservative Republican governor who, is not going to listen. But we nevertheless have to try. And then thirdly, Andrew, what I would like to do on the living wage, there's other items that I want to address, but on this particular issue, Andrew, every single employee at City Hall that is not at $15 an hour, let's bring them up to $15 an hour. I get it. Listen, I know that the next several years, because of COVID and because the irresponsibility of the last two mayors, our city budget is in tatters. Let's just be honest about that. And so I want to be responsive and responsible with the city budget and taxpayer money. However, what I think we could do is, listen, let's go through the number of employees who are not at $15 an hour. Let's get them up to $15 an hour gradually, right? So the first year, maybe they get $1 increase. The second year, they get another $1 increase. And then we bring them, every single employee should be making $15 an hour minimum. That's on the wage scale. The other thing, too, that we need to do in terms of our economy, we need to diversify our economy. It can't just be suburban franchise fast food restaurants, and it can't just be call centers, right? Or now we're looking at increasing our warehousing distribution. Right. Those are okay jobs, right? I'll take any job over no job. However, we need to look at solar and renewable energy. El Paso as a sun city should be number one when it comes to solar and renewable energy and fighting climate change. That's number 2 on the wages. Number 3, let's do high-tech manufacturing. Partnering with UTEP, we have thousands of UTEP engineers that graduate every year, and they go off to Dallas or Houston to go work at Lockheed Martin or Boeing. Let's make sure that we are doing everything possible so that those UTEP engineers and their families can stay in El Paso and make money. And then thirdly, let's support our local businesses through a tourism economy. You have heard me talk about a regional hike and bike trail that is going to connect every neighborhood to the Franklin Mountains and all the way down to the Mission Trail. That will not only make us healthier and happier, but it will invite people to visit El Paso and spend money. And then just a few other things, Andrew. Let's finish what we started at the MCA. A lot of great El Pasoans have done a lot of good work there, but I feel like the city has not done its fair share to increase housing and retail opportunities there.
That being the Medical Center to the Americas.
Yes, sir. Correct. And then finally, let's not forget our connection to Juarez and Mexico. It's not going to go anywhere. We need to increase our transportation infrastructure between our two countries and our two cities. I want to make sure that we are number one on everything, including trade. And so that's the things that we will focus on under my administration.
Again, if you're just joining us, my guest right now is Carlos Gallinar, candidate for El Paso mayor. You want to find out more information about him, his policy positions, and campaign, you can visit carlosformayor.com or search Carlos for El Paso or Gallinar for El Paso on your favorite social media. Now, along with all of the campaign issues in your platform here, there have been a couple of major currents that have been running through this election season here. One of the major ones kind of nationally and still even coming down to the local level is funding levels for the police. We've heard things along the lines of defund the police or restructure the police. Where do you stand on that issue? What would be your priorities for public safety if elected to office?
Yeah, Andrew, so I want to make it clear, Carlos Gallinar will not defund the police, but we do have to look at the whole budget, the city's budget as a whole. And so, listen, that's a great question. Obviously, the moral question of our lifetime, right? All of us are struggling with it. All of us who care and are Americans and care about this country and other people are thinking through these issues that we're living through. Andrew, listen, again, you just heard me say I want to be number one in everything. So that also includes the police department. In terms of public safety, when we talk about public safety, it doesn't always need to equate to law enforcement or law and order. Public safety, Andrew, is also looking at an equitable budget. So I will look at the city's budget as a whole. Right now, we spend $157 million for police, and we spend $17 million for public health, and we spend $5 million for arts and culture. So it's not equitable, right? We know that other things that contribute to safety and well-being include the arts, includes parks, includes rec centers, includes things, quality of life things that make us happier, but also deter crime. And so if elected mayor, we will look at the budget as a whole. We will not be defunding the police, but we will be looking at creating an equitable budget to make sure that, again, we are addressing other public safety issues, parks, hike and bike trails, arts and culture, youth programs. Let's make sure that we are also providing mental health resources to our nonprofits that are dealing with those concerns. So great question, Andrew. No easy answers, but we do need to look at our own house and get it in order and fix the things that we need to fix.
So to bring it full circle here, going back to one of the first things you mentioned here about that bond project, the 2012 Quality of Life bond, that has been one of the, frankly, biggest issues that has happened over the past couple of administrations here is the signature project for that bond with the Downtown Arena Performing Arts Center, been referred to most commonly as the Arena, and the issues with the neighborhood of Duranguito. Where do you stand on how to move forward with that project and with what's going on? I mean, there's conflict between different perspectives of both economic development and historic preservation. How do you balance those in your campaign?
Yeah, Andrew, and you hit a great point. It's been an issue that has torn our community, right? And it shouldn't have. I'm going to answer the question, but before I do, let me say this. Listen, in 2012, I, along with thousands of El Pasoans, voted for this bond. I love El Paso. I want the best for El Paso. We recognize that there's opportunities that we don't have here that other cities have. So yes, I voted for the bond. I was excited for the Children's Museum. I'm glad that we're finally breaking ground. 8 years later, it's going to be, when I voted for that bond. And speaking of the Children's Museum, my daughter was 5 and my son was 3. By the time it opens, we're going to be celebrating Olivia's quinceañera, and so it shouldn't have taken that long. On the Mexican American Cultural Center, again, we have a great history that is not just the Mexican American culture, but many other diverse cultures here in El Paso. I was looking forward to having the most badass, greatest Taj Mahal Mexican American Cultural Center in El Paso. Instead, we have relegated it to a corner in the library. Number 3, the one that you're bringing up on the Arena. Listen, again, I voted for it. I like the idea of taking my son Joaquin to March Madness in El Paso instead of having to drive to San Antonio or Albuquerque. I want people to visit El Paso and spend money. Andrew, all of this I say because I am just so disappointed. And so on the Arena issue, that ship has sailed. We know that the cost has doubled. The city has not identified additional resources for how to pay for it. And so under my administration, either we're going to put it to rest or we're going to find additional funding resources to pay for it that doesn't increase taxes or doesn't affect the budget. Probably really hard to do, but I think in my estimation and talking to people, I feel like that ship has sailed. We need to put it to rest. El Pasoans are fighting El Pasoans. We're spending so much political and social capital on this issue. And so let's just move forward and look at the things that we talked about: hike and bike trails, solar and renewable energy, making sure we still double down on downtown. We need more housing in downtown. We need a grocery store in downtown. We need a movie theater in downtown. People will go back to the movies, okay, after COVID.
Right.
We need there's still many vacant buildings outside of Duranguito whose lights are turned off. So let's incubate small businesses into these buildings while restoring historic buildings. We could do it. We could do it, but it's going to take a mayor to bring people to the table, something that the 2 mayors have not been able to do. In terms of Duranguito, you just heard me say we need to, if we do move forward on the Arena, we're going to change the location. And I've been very explicit about this. It's on my website, so it's not just people need to recognize that this is something that we've been thinking about over the past course of our campaign. If once we move the Arena, if it even gets built, let's restitch Duranguito. Let's put it back together. Let's work with residents. Let's work with historic preservationists. Let's work with urban planners. Andrew, things that I have done over the past of the course of my career through Plan El Paso, through El Afe, building affordable housing, I have the experience to bring people to the table and get things done. And so, yes, very important issue, but we need to move forward. There's too many things that we need to work on here in El Paso to let this one issue boggle us down. And so that's my position on this issue. Might not be the most popular, but that's okay. We need a mayor that's going to tell the truth to the taxpayers and move forward on other great, wonderful things that we could do here.
My guest right now has been Carlos Gallinar, candidate for El Paso Mayor. You want to find out information on all the things we've been discussing here, you can visit carlosformayor.com. You can also look Carlos for El Paso or Gallinar for El Paso on your favorite social media. So, Carlos, thank you very much for taking the time to come and talk to us about your campaign and the very important issues facing our city here today.
Andrew, thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity. And then just finally, remember, early voting starts October 13th, which is this Tuesday. And so encourage people to go out and vote.
So thank you to our candidates for taking the time right now, and we'll be continuing this for the next few weeks. Again, all happening before Election Day, but some of them into early voting. And don't forget, of course, Talk El Paso will be starting to go daily starting Monday, October 19th. Will no longer be on Saturdays, but Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. on News Radio 690 KTSM and on social media as well, primarily Facebook, but other ones as we're able to integrate them. So all of that is coming. That is all very exciting. And don't forget, of course, course, that early voting goes from October 13th through the 30th, and of course, Election Day is November 3rd. To find out all the information you need to know, both for registration, making sure you're registered, and where to vote whenever you're voting, you can go to epcountyvotes.com. So thank you for watching this video. Hope it has informed you. Let us know what you think in the comments, and of course, be sure to like, follow, subscribe. Just let people know about us so that we can also spread this message and help get more informed people out to the polls. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thanks for tuning in.